First down the hallway is Sam and Eva. Sam contacted me at Hendra Clayfield last year, I think it was, early in the year, and I knew he was destined to be a Catholic because in our first conversation he said to me, I'm a Baptist, but I've been researching all of the faiths and I think I want to become a Catholic because I really believe in transubstantiation. I've gone, you're right, you should be there, yeah. I said, besides the fact that hardly anyone knows what it is, hardly anyone can pronounce it. Yeah.
I'll introduce you to Joshua Retty. Joshua's a catechumen and joined our group last year and was baptised and received the rest of the sacraments at Easter time. And Lachlan Farquhar. Lachlan was a candidate, and Lachlan is currently studying at UQ in International Studies and works for Border Control. So we're delighted to have Josh and Lachlan with us today.
We thought we might just open it up with asking a couple of questions, then we can have questions from the floor, because I'm sure that many of you would have questions for these three beautiful people. And I wanted to ask Eva also later on. She was a Croatian Catholic living in Croatia when I met Sam, and he went over there and married her. So I sent him to Salisbury, to the Croatian church, so he knew what it would be a little bit like. And he went over there and married this beautiful girl. They have come back and become part of the St. Agatha's parish. Sam actually, I've seen them walking off with Sandy to do children's liturgy, and they are both fabulous musicians and singers and have got involved with the music ministry. So firstly, I'll say, how were you drawn to the Catholic faith?
I guess it's a few things. So long story short, I lost my faith growing up that I had as a child, went my own way for a while and came back into the Protestant church about 2018. And while I was refinding faith there, Eva and I had started dating as well, long distance. She was Catholic, of course, myself Protestant, and I spent a long time thinking about how we could sort of unionize that if we were going to get married, which was coming pretty soon, actually. And I also realized when I was going through my faith journey at the Baptist church that I didn't really, while I think they're great, faithful people, I didn't really subscribe to a lot of their thoughts or belief or theology about things, and found that I had a growing dislike of the communion with just juice and crackers, and I didn't think there was a huge sense of reverence. And so Eva and I started talking quite a lot, and I asked her 100,000 questions about the Catholic faith. And, you know, I had quite an aversion towards Catholicism still at the time, and so I was trying to either see if I could strengthen and or dismantle that aversion, and it ended up strengthening it and her faith as well. And I eventually started going along to the St. Agatha's Church, and I found it really resonated with me in a way that I didn't expect. And one thing in particular was that silence that you were talking about earlier. That's something that doesn't exist in most Baptist churches, if at all. And I was just, really getting a better understanding of the theology. I think really gave me a better appreciation of that. I couldn't sort of continue on going on thinking the communion or Eucharist was just a symbol. So it was a bit of a long journey, but we got there, and I feel much more at peace with things.
Well, I suppose the Catholic Church has always been pretty close. I went to Catholic school all throughout my childhood, and I guess never so far away when I went to uni, but last year I began to read and watch my way back towards the Catholic Church. There's a lot of great resources out there, especially online at the moment, that speak to the beauty and, like Sam said, the reverence of the church, which which I started being quite attracted to. And yeah, that's really how I found my way here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Well, for me, I think I, at a young age, was going to Sunday school, probably like many of you, and used to sit down there and not really understand what was being said, or, I was just there to play with my friends, or it was just a place where mum and dad would drop me off to give them a few hours of silence. There was 6 of us growing up, so it was a bit of a madhouse. And, I never really thought I needed to have some structure like that. I thought it was for people that didn't really have any ability to have some scaffolding in their lives, some way to find a true north, a sense of direction. I thought, you need to go down that path if you don't know what you're doing. And so I sought out my own way of going about things, which, really only got me so far. I always found like it was good, but it wasn't as good as I thought it could be. And so over the years, I always found myself coming back into church and just having some quiet moments to myself. I would just sit down and I always felt at peace, And so I would just take the time to just find my sort of inner peace, And eventually I made the decision that I needed to actually commit to this. I needed to really commit myself and say, this is where I'm finding peace and this is what I want to do. And so thankfully I found Jerry, who was fortunate enough to take me on board and take me under his wing and go through that process with me. And it's been an amazing process. I've met some really great people. I've found a good community as well. It feels like a bigger family. And I'm really happy to be here.
I guess we were talking before, the girls were talking about mystagogy. Mystagogy is sort of the growing that you have after you've become a Catholic. And I think I used to always think many in the church didn't understand. Like I remember Sam saying to me, what's this thing you do like this, And many people probably don't even know, but it's, the in your mind is in your mind, on your lips and in your heart. But, just things like that we just need to let people know about in our preparations and things. There's lots of things that we do. So, Sam, how do you see your journey forward? What are you looking for in your faith that is very special? And then also maybe, Eva, you might talk about coming over here and leaving your homeland and starting your Catholic life over here with Sam.
Probably the main thing is getting involved in the music. So that's something when I went to the parish, I remember hearing for the first time, these amazing songs, and played incredibly as well. The pianist we have there and vocalist, he's really phenomenal. And I thought that I really wanted to get involved in that. That's something that I was normally involved in the Baptist church, and that's what I'm used to. It's very different being at the back of the church instead of on the stage, and I actually prefer that much more. I always felt that was putting too much attention on me. But yeah, that's been the main thing. I have also wanted to get involved with the children's liturgy a bit more. I always felt a little, and still do, inadequate, that I don't really know enough to help out with that. But I have a few times, and that sort of continues from my occupation. So I'm outside school hours care educator at the school there through Catholic Early Ed Care. So I wanted to continue that and possibly just to have that focus on the youth in the church. There was talk of running a youth group for the older kids that a bit older, too old for the children's liturgy, but sort of still need that guidance.
Compared to Croatia, it is, the beauty of the Catholic Church, I think, is that it's the same everywhere. And it is one of the things in Australia that really feels like home. It's not like the music is different, the language is different, of course, but parts of the liturgy, I was really looking forward to the Holy Week and seeing how it would be done in Australia. It was exactly the same as it was at home, which was great. But I think the two bigger differences that I've noticed are, like, we don't really have this. We don't focus on adults coming to faith that much because it's sort of like a given that you're a Catholic in Croatia. Even people who, people even who are not going to church, everyone gets baptized as a kid. All of them go through the school, like we do communion when we're 9, then we do the confirmation when we're 14, and then we don't really go to church, but we get married in church, we christen our kids. So like everyone has all of the checkpoints, but I don't think we don't really have the conversion as much. So this is something that I find really interesting, and it was really interesting following his journey. And I was like, oh, what's he going to be like? Like, will he get baptized? Not baptized, he got baptized in a Baptist church, but will he get his communion with the kids, or like, is it a special type of a thing? Because my mum actually was, she was christened, but she got her sacraments before she married my dad, and she did get it with the kids. So that's why I sort of thought this might be the thing. But I think I've witnessed more. Well, I know that I witnessed more adult conversion here in the St. Agatha's. It's almost like a monthly occurrence than ever in my life. But on the other hand, in Croatia, I think there's a bigger emphasis on Mary. We are, especially my local parish is dedicated to the Assumption. So the Assumption of Mary is like a huge deal and a big celebration. And every May and every October, there are like there's always rosary prayed before the Mass, but when I was a kid, it was us. So the kids would come to church and we would pray. And that was something that was the way I was a part of the church in Croatia. It's kind of lost now, but we had a lot of youth. There was a youth group and like youth meetings every 2 years. Like we would all come to one part of Croatia, like similar to what was there for like a World Youth Day. We would have it locally every 2 years, and that I found that really helpful for my faith, and I had some great priests as teachers, so I did understand what this is. If he didn't teach us, I wouldn't know. But I think I got lucky with him, or blessed, I guess. Otherwise, I don't think there's as much concentration on that anymore. It's kind of, I think it depends on the priest and the parish, but it's kind of getting lost. So it's really beautiful to see that there's adults here who are willing to go through that process, and it's beautiful to participate in that.
Joshua and Lachlan, yes. How do you see yourselves going forward? I know Joshua has a son here who is, so how do you see your Catholic faith going forward, and you getting so much more out of it?
Just to lay out an answer, one of the other things that had me certain that the Catholic Church truly is Christ's church is just how much the Catholic Church does. It's a place of action. No matter where you go, there is always an organization that is out there helping people. And so as a young person, that's something that I'm really looking forward to doing. It just looking down the list of those corporal works of mercy and just ticking them off. And so joining something like Vinnie's or Rosie's is something that I'm looking forward to being a part of as I grow into my faith. So something the young people, I think, will find very helpful to be, I guess, sent straight to something like that, because we have the ability and the want to do something good in this world. And I think that the Catholic Church does it greater than any organization and in more places than any organization ever could. So, yeah, that's my answer to that.
I would like to be able to help out, there we are, in maybe a not such a grand way, but maybe more of a smaller way, whether it be just, helping during communion. One of the things that I really liked when we first started doing our sessions with Chad was we were in this room actually around a table, and there was a group of us as adults coming around to talk about things like faith and what that means to us individually. And I think as adults, we don't really spend too much time talking to other adults about what that means to us. We normally just go in, sit down, yep, job done, okay, go home. But I think having that time to, spend and sit with other adults in a room is really healthy. And so, I don't know if that's a thing that can be done, but something along those lines, I think, would be really helpful and useful in the community.
Okay, so now over to the audience to ask some questions. Any questions of these four young people up here?
I guess I'd like to hear, did any of you find any opposition from friends or family in your search for faith?
I've got a cousin who he grew up as a Mormon actually. And so, we have these sort of conversations around, what faith means to us and different things. But in general, I think people will ask me something like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" Right? We're at my son's soccer game this morning. What are you up to after soccer? Oh, we're going into church, and you see it kind of strikes people like, "Oh, that's interesting," And as Australia is mainly a Christian country, I think a lot of people have these values, but they don't practice that faith as much as they probably feel like they should. So I always feel like it's a positive thing, kind of evangelizing it in a small way, just talking to people. But I haven't really had any negative response from it. It's usually quite positive. And I think when I say to people, that's what I'm going to go do today, I get a sense that they probably reflect on themselves, thinking maybe that's something that they may think about doing as well.
I'm quite similar, really. No negative interactions when my friends and family hear about what I've decided to do. More just neutral. It's just, okay, yeah. But it has been a tool of evangelization of itself. My parents, they didn't come to the rite of initiation, but they watched the live stream, and they said they were quite moved by it, even from the computer. So that's what I'll say to that, yeah.
Yes, I did. Since both my parents are quite dedicated Baptists and have been for as long as I've known them at least, they were not very happy about the whole Catholic thing, and a lot of my biases towards it sort of came from their understanding and that upbringing. And that was one of the things during my journey. It took a long time to sort of shake it and change. And so, they were there and they supported it still. They were very happy I got back to the Protestant church, but they were still there. I'm sure you remember, Kate. And we did go out to a celebration dinner afterwards, but I was a bit somber, actually. They were sort of like, are you sure you want to do this? And here's some problems with the Catholic Church and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't have a very nice dinner, actually. So there was that. If my grandmother was still alive when I got confirmed, she probably may have disowned me. She, along with my other grandmother, one was Catholic, one was Protestant, and they both thought they'd get struck by lightning if they walked into the other denomination's church. But that was probably the main thing. And I also got a bit of pushback from congregation members of the Baptist church, and like just looks of, dear God, please help his soul sort of thing. He's going to the Catholic Church. He needs someone to pray for him. But the actual pastors there that I had a good relationship with and were learning under for a number of years had a much more positive response. And so, it wasn't something necessarily that they wanted to do, but they understood where I was coming from. And we talked about all the differences and objections about things quite in a very civil way and loving way. And, they've said they support me wherever they go, and I'm still wherever I go. And, we're still very good friends, and I see them pretty occasionally. But, definitely mostly from family, to be honest.
Not much of a question, but on the contrary, congratulate you in your decision, in how brave you are in the decision that you are making. It's not easy to see. I come from a country that is pretty similar. Everyone is Catholic, everyone is baptized, and to see people, taking the decision to know the faith or to grow in this faith, it's a significant act of bravery in these days. In the second thing that I want to say is that thank you for doing it, because don't think that you just come to learn from us. We are learning from you. We actually, in the process of trying to help you, we will rediscover our own faith, and that's probably what's been happening. So thank you for being here, and that means the Holy Spirit continue operating and continue working, and the church that Jesus says that it will be at the end of the times is continue growing. Thank you.
I might just say something which I'm very proud to share with my community as well. I'm from a country where there is Hinduism, Christianity and Muslim all in the same place. And one thing which happens in the Catholic Church, can you all still hear me? Yeah. Is the open door policy, right? So if you go to a mosque, you cannot enter if you're not a Muslim. And that's the truth, right? In my country where I'm from, it's a closed door policy. If you get into a temple, you dirty the place. They have to do a ritual to cleanse it. Whereas in church, anybody comes in, just want to have a peace moment, they come in and say, that's something I'm very proud to share. And for new people coming into faith, it's something I'm so proud of. And you should be too. I mean, church is a place of God where our faith especially, sorry, I'm sharing this, but I'm so proud about it, right? And you should be. The question I thought I will ask is, Sam, you said about the transubstantiation. Did I get that right? Your view on it in the Catholic context, I would like to hear it, if you don't mind. About the transubstantiation. Did you say he had few views on it? Briefly, if we could hear it, that would be great.
When I first came across that, I was pretty shocked, actually. And I didn't know what it meant. I mean, now I'm not going to claim that I actually really understand it at all, even. But yeah, I remember I had a huge issue with it too. And I was like, this term was only invented in 11th century or something like that, or this. And it's just got thrown in the middle of things. And I really didn't like that because I didn't understand what it, again, still don't really understand what it really meant. But the more I read about it, and the more I read early church fathers and stuff, which is what really showed me that this isn't something that's been just planted in the middle 600, 1,000 years later or something. This is something that's been there really from the beginning, whether or not the term was there, which obviously wasn't. And so that really, was the main thing that led me back, is that here are all these church fathers sort of thinking this way already. And then I go to the Baptist church and we have, again, juice and crackers just from Coles across the road. And I think the thoughts and the faithfulness they have there about the communion is good, but it's not as deep as and as nuanced as I think it should be, or Jesus intended it to be. And that's something that when I first went to the church, I sort of found a spiritual mother in a woman who became my sponsor. And the way she talked about it, and sort of that anticipation for it, and that really treating it with the, great spiritualness and the sort of mysticism that is married within everything in Catholicism. That really struck me and sort of made me think about how much more important this whole process is, rather than just have a bit of food and think about your sins and whatever else you've done. So I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but
we've been talking a fair bit this afternoon about accompaniment. Can any of you tell some stories about what the accompaniment has meant for you, by sponsors or by others?
I've been blessed to be accompanied by Jerry the whole way along. He's a very brilliant sponsor. And that, I suppose it's kind of reminds me of the road to Emmaus. There's two walking along and Jesus comes alongside them and explains everything to them. And that's how I felt that Jerry has helped me in a similar way, walking me along the road to the Eucharist. And and I'd like to thank every one of you as well for what you do to people that I don't know and I've never met, but people that are yet to be met. You will be such a great help to them as Jerry has been to me. So thank you.
I mean, I can say a couple of good words about Jerry too, if you like. The accompaniment, I guess, from feeling that sense of belonging as well, just in the community, and then being fortunate to have those one-on-one sessions with Jerry. For me, it really suited, the sort of lifestyle we were all working, as parents, etc. I know it's taking time out of everyone's day to do this, but that was something for me, just being able to ask deeper questions, I guess, and just having those one-on-one sessions really did have a far greater impact on me and helping me to understand and get to where we are today. Yeah.
And your sponsor was a beautiful woman who over the road, I think she lived, did she? Or
Actually a couple suburbs away.
Oh, okay. But
I was surprised she ended up at St. Agatha's because I'm sure that's not her actual local Catholic church. And she doesn't go there anymore. She was just there at that time. So I felt very blessed to have that. And she really taught me a lot and pulled me aside after the service and was like, here's this and pray this thing and this is what we're going to do here and this is what this is about and everything. And a big lot of encouragement as well, and gave me a lot of things to read and watch. But I think in terms of accompaniment, if I didn't have someone there, whether that was my wife or just girlfriend at the time or this lovely lady in the Catholic Church, I'm not sure where I would be. Maybe I would still be in the Protestant Church. Maybe I'll still be searching. But it was very important, and I'm very thankful for all of that. And how that sort of helped strengthen me and push me forward and keep me searching and wondering. Yep.
My name's Peter, and blessings on the work of Jerry and Kate and all those who do it. I'm struck today by the power of testimony from these people, and it's something that it seems to me our Protestant brothers and sisters do rather well, and perhaps we're still learning. So it's extraordinarily powerful when people do testify, even within our groups, and share their faith. And so I'm grateful for that, for you. And I'd just like to finish with a note that there's a Czech priest, Thomas Halleck, perhaps you've heard of him, who was imprisoned in the time of the oppression. But one of the things that he did in his ministry on the universities is he's a professor, and he's been here again recently. He baptized 3,000 university students. And I'd like to think there's work to be done there.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you very much, Sam and Eva and Lachlan and Joshua. It's been wonderful meeting you too. And thanks, Jerry. And we did this 2 years ago, had a bit of an interview with one of the people that have come through. And it really is, as you say, great to hear their testimony, their experience, and how that love of God in their heart has just grown and grown and will continue growing. Okay, so thank you very much. Thanks for coming.